Hey guys, and welcome back to the last video on a Friday. Man, sorry, Thursday. This has been a long day recording wise, but anyway, we get through it. And yeah, in this video, you will be seeing my tips from round 2, reviewing them and how I went, and then also my tips for round 3. So yeah, let's just jump into it here. And yeah, as you see, the first tip of the round, I went Port Adelaide by 34, and what a game this was just for Port Adelaide in general at the MCG. Dominated, dismal day for Western Bulldogs across both fronts, AFLW and men's, smacked in both games. As you see here as well, got the tip right. I was 6 points off as they won by 40. For the round, I got 6 tips, total tips up to 10, and a round rank rise of about 4,500. Hopefully, we can have another big rank rise in the near future. As you see, I'm already 6 tips behind the leaders, but I've got a really good total margin. And as you see, in general, I'm only 4 tips off the top 20, which is still all right. So yeah, I'm not too far off, and I've got a really good margin, which is a good thing as well. So if I can get these tips right, I'm in a pretty good position. Let's just go back here, keep reviewing the round 2 tips. Brisbane against Melbourne. Brisbane won pretty convincingly. I said Brisbane by 9, they won by 18. Essendon against West Coast. I said Essendon by 13, they won by 16, so that was a really good tip there. Then I said Collingwood against Hawthorn. Hawthorn look absolutely amazing on both fronts of the men's and the women's just are on fire at the moment. I think they're top, as you see here, top on 257%, only 5% ahead of St Kilda. And yeah, they just look absolutely amazing, do the Hawks. So yeah, I got that tip wrong. I said Collingwood by 11. I thought they'd bounce back a little bit more than they did. But they lost by, 47 points, so I was 58 points off there, almost 10 goals difference. Then Richmond, I said by 7, and they won by 11, so I was 4 points off there. Then if Daisy Darcy was an inch taller, I would have got this tip right. But yeah, I said Gold Coast by 15. I thought they would beat Carlton, who, again, they didn't look the greatest, but Gold Coast have started the season 0-2, which is really bad. But they've come up against 2 all-right opponents, I guess. But then again, it probably means that Gold Coast aren't going to make finals. I said Gold Coast by 15, lost by 1. Then I get the point for the draw game. I said North by 21, and they drew. Then I said Sydney by 7. This was obviously before the Chloe Molloy news. If I was, which I don't do in general, I probably should start doing it now. But if I did sort of change it with I know that one time in the men's with Harley Reid got left out, and I didn't adjust for that. But Molloy being out probably changed a lot of things. And yeah, St Kilda just looked really good, and they won the game by 16 points. And and now the Crows also won by 33. I had them by 14. So I was a little bit off in this game here, the Swans game by 23. And I was also 19 points off in the Adelaide game. Now we move to round 3 here. And some interesting games. I think some obvious games. West Coast, I think, wins this one. I just don't like the way that Western Bulldogs are playing. They've scored, 1 goal this year? 1 goal, 3 in the first game and 6 behinds in the second. They've scored 15 points this year. They legitimately have a percentage of 12.7. I think West Coast gets over the line in this game. I'm going to say by 21 points. I also think the return of the likes of Emma Swanson really has helped the long-term prospects of West Coast. It doesn't help. But yeah, we'll see the team list. But I just think that West Coast are a better side. I think they'll beat the Bulldogs pretty comfortably. Could actually go probably by more. But then again, the Bulldogs aren't as bad. I don't think West Coast are as good as Port Adelaide. And I don't think that West Coast are as good as... the Giants got a hold of them as well, though. They won 72-9. So this is really a bad game to have first game of the round. You know what? I'll go by 30 in the end, just thinking about it again. We'll go 30, as I think they could beat them. This could be a massive margin game that just flips everything. Brisbane against Collingwood. I think Brisbane are sort of turning their season around after that shocking performance to start the year in the grand final rematch. So I think Brisbane wins this one by, 26 points. I'm not rating Collingwood that well this year. Then you have Sydney against Richmond. Coffs Harbour. Molloy being out's huge. Moffat hasn't been that good this year. They got over the line against Collingwood because Collingwood didn't kick that well. I want to tip Sydney, but I just think Richmond wins this one against the Tide here. I do think Richmond are a much better side. Richmond did win against who in round 2? Richmond won against GWS, which wasn't that good of a win. But yeah, I just think that Richmond wins this one. I think Sheeran's coming back as well. I think that Richmond are 1 game away from being, 1 point away from being 2-0, which would have put them right here in the 4th place. So I think Richmond wins this one by, I think, 10 points. I think Sydney just had are really going to struggle without Chloe Molloy, as well as Moffat not being 100%. So yeah, I don't think that they will score that freely, and I think they'll struggle a lot. Geelong against Carlton, I think Geelong wins this one. Even with Prasparkas down with an injury, I think that Geelong are just a much better side than Carlton. I think Carlton struggled to beat Gold Coast. And I think Geelong have had 2 tough matchups, haven't they? Who did they play in round 1? In round 1, they played Melbourne, who are a top team. So, yeah, I expect them to struggle in this game, to be honest with you. Melbourne did lose their second game of the year pretty poorly too. They lost to Brisbane. So, yeah, a lot of the top teams are playing each other, which probably makes it a little bit harder to tell. But I think that Geelong wins this one by, I think 23 points. Port Adelaide against Fremantle. I think a lot of people are giving Port a lot more hope, probably. They did perform pretty well against Adelaide, but I think that was more of a showdown game, so it was more so why they were giving a lot more effort. I think also Fremantle looked like a really good side. I think Fremantle I don't know, people are just directly comparing Fremantle compared to the result against Adelaide, but I think that Fremantle will win this game, to be honest with you. I'm going to go Fremantle by, I think, 20 points, I think. I think Fremantle is a contending team. I think they just had a really disappointing game against Adelaide, whereas I think that Port really came up against Adelaide with a fight because of the showdown and it being Port versus Adelaide. Then we go to Adelaide against Hawthorn. I think Hawthorn are a really good side this year. I just don't think that they have enough to put it up with Adelaide. So I'm going to go Adelaide in this game by, I think, 22 points. Then you have Melbourne against the North Kangaroos. I'm going to go the Kangas in this game against Melbourne. I know Melbourne are a pretty decent side this year, but I think the Kangaroos, I think their midfield is just way, way too good for Melbourne at this point. So I'm going to go North by, I think, 18 points. Then you have Essendon against St Kilda. Essendon, I think, just with Bonnie Too Good out, they've lost that connection. Much to the same with Chloe Molloy, out for Sydney. Yeah, I just think that they've lost that connection a little bit. Essendon don't look the greatest. I know that they won on the weekend against, who did they play? Where are they? They played West Coast. That's not much. So yeah, I just don't think that they'll win. I think St Kilda will go 3-0, and I think St Kilda will win by, I think, 15 points. Then we get to GWS against Gold Coast. This is like, GWS should lose this. Gold Coast should win this. But Gold Coast have been utterly horrific this year. And GWS have been alright. I'm still going to back in Gold Coast. I still think that Rowbottom is the best player in this game. I think that she can carry them. I think also they found some form of semblance in how to play, I guess, in last weekend. I think that they just had a stinker with that 45 seconds at the end, and not marking up on gearing. But yeah, I think Gold Coast wins this one, and I think they're going to win it by 17 points. So those are my tips for round 3 of the AFLW season, not fantasy, just in the AFLW season. Hopefully we can have a really good round, score some, get a 9 out of 9 would be nice, or even an 8 out of 9 would be nice. Really close up to the leaders, or just get a really good rank rise. We're currently 6,178. Hopefully we can crack the top 5k, I think, this round, if we can go really well. And yeah, so those are the tips. If you did enjoy the video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload in the future on Friday with my game review of the Thursday night game for the AFLW Fantasy, as well as my round tips for the semi-finals of the AFL men's. I get confused about how they call or what they call each finals week. But anyway, those are the tips, and I'll see you guys in those videos tomorrow. Bye guys.